Welcome once again to Commander by Danon. Today's video is brought to us by Patreon supporter Sean. Huge thanks to Sean for supporting this channel. Sean requested help with his Golgari Elves list. He was struggling because he would either ramp too hard, too fast, and then just dirtle, or he'd get board wiped early and then not be able to recover before the game ended. He was also considering changing his commanders. So this deck has multiple commanders that Sean can swap between depending on his mood or how strong he wants the deck to be. But before we get started, I'd like to quickly ask you to like and subscribe. It really does help the channel, and it's free. With that out of the way, let's get into the video. First up, the two initial commanders are Numa, Joraga Chieftain, and Nadir, Agent of the Duskanel. Both of these were printed in Commander Legends. Numa, Joraga Chieftain is a 3-mana legendary 2/2 elf warrior with partner. At the beginning of combat on our turn, we may pay double X. When we do, we may distribute X +1/+1 counters among any number of target elves. Nadir, Agent of the Duskanel, is a 6-mana 3/3 legendary elf warrior with partner. Whenever a token we control leaves the battlefield, we put a +1/+1 counter on Nadir, Agent of the Duskanel. When Nadir leaves the battlefield, we create a number of 1/1 green elf warrior tokens equal to its power. So Numa puts counters on elves, and Nadir makes tokens based on how big he is. The two work very well together, and encourage a sort of aristocrats build. We can use our commanders to generate a ton of tokens, then use those tokens to generate mana or destroy our opponents. But Sean specifically mentioned Elf Ball, and growing his board quickly, so that was the direction I took the deck in. He was also considering a different partner. Kodama of the East Tree is a 6-mana 6/6 legendary spirit with reach and partner. Whenever a permanent enters the battlefield under our control, if it wasn't put there by this ability, we may put a permanent card with equal or lesser converted mana cost from our hand onto the battlefield. Obviously, Kodama of the East Tree is much stronger than Numa, but sometimes we want our opponents to underestimate our deck's capabilities. On the flip side, Kodama isn't tied to a specific tribe, so our opponents might not know what our deck is trying to do. Regardless, if Sean chooses to run Kodama and Nadir as his partner commanders, that's 12 mana in the command zone. So, in case he decides he wants to go a bit cheaper, we've also got Lathril, Blade of the Elves in the deck. Lathril, Blade of the Elves is a 4-mana 2/3 legendary elf noble with menace. Whenever she deals combat damage to a player, we create that many 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens. Additionally, we may tap her and 10 untapped elves we control in order to cause each opponent to lose 10 life, and us to gain 10 life. So any of these legendary creatures work, either as a pair or by themselves. The point of this deck is to have a bunch of elves on board and win by either generating a ton of mana or smashing our opponents in the face with an army of elves. But before we get to our deck list, we should keep in mind our checklist. 50 mana sources, usually split between 37 lands and 13 pieces of ramp, 10 pieces of card advantage, 8 to 10 pieces of spot removal, 2 to 3 board wipes, 2 pieces of graveyard hate, 1 sudden I win card. Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, Overgrown Tomb, Undergrowth Stadium, Deathcap Glade, Woodland Cemetery, Woodland Chasm, Haunted Mire, Llanowar Wastes, Bojuka Bog, 16 Forests, and 8 Swamps. Sol Ring, Arcane Signet, and the Great Henge make up our mana rocks. For mana dorks, we've got Deathrite Shaman, Llanowar Elves, Fyndhorn Elves, Elvish Mystic, Elves of Deep Shadow, Priest of Titania, Jaheira, Friend of the Forest, Elvish Archdruid, Gwenna, Eyes of Gaia, Marwyn the Nurturer, and Canopy Tactician. Leyline of Abundance pairs nicely with all of our mana dorks. And finally, to fetch lands, we're running Wood Elves, Farhaven Elf, Crop Rotation, and Tempt with Discovery. Leaf-Crowned Visionary, Beast Whisperer, Realm Walker, Sylvan Library, Elvish Harbinger, Return of the Wild Speaker, Guardian Project, Green Sun's Zenith, Patriarch Spitting, Worldly Tutor, Vampiric Tutor, and Demonic Tutor. Reclamation Sage, Ruthless Winnower, Heroic Intervention, Putrefy, Golgari Charm, Return to Nature, Assassin's Trophy, Naturalize, Rapine Vigor, Astarion's Thirst, and Leyline of the Void make up our interaction package. Crippling Fear, and Toxic Deluge. I wanted at least one one-sided board wipe in the deck. Imperious Perfect, Lys Alana Huntmaster, Elvish Warmaster, Elven Ambush, Elvish Promenade, Eladamri Lord of Leaves, Wolverine Riders, Izuri Renegade Leader, Nightshade Harvester, Dwinin's Elite, and Elvish Champion make up our creatures. Torment of Hailfire, Exsanguinate, Finale of Devastation, Concordant Crossroads, Triumph of the Hordes, and Craterhoof Behemoth all help us to close out games. Now that we have our deck list, we should compare it to our checklist. 54 mana sources, but between 35 lands and 19 pieces of ramp. A little high, but that's what Elf Ball does. 12 pieces of card advantage, 11 pieces of interaction, 2 board wipes, 3 pieces of graveyard hate, 3 sudden I win cards, plus a pair of X spells that can win us the game if we have the mana. Torment of Hailfire and Exsanguinate are both capable of wiping out an entire table, assuming we cast them for high enough mana, which this deck is more than capable of doing. Between being able to tap our tokens for mana to mana dorks who tap for an obscene amount of mana, finishing the game off with a giant spell shouldn't be a problem. Additionally, we have 3 ways to protect our creatures from most board wipes, so that helps to add to our resilience. But even without that, we have the combo of Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, and 2 elves that give all of our other elves Forest Walk, Elvish Champion, and the original Elf Lord himself, Eladamri Lord of Leaves. With these on the table, we can just beat our opponents to death as Richard Garfield intended. Do you have an Elf Ball deck? Who's your commander? Leave a comment below. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, a huge shout out to my editor Cute Stuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, there's a link to her Fiverr page below. If you're looking for ways to support the channel directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/Danon. One of the tiers is specifically set up for Commander. For only $25, I will build you a custom Commander deck based around your specifications, and even do a deck video on it. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons: Waffles, Jiraiya, Muffins, Marcus, Phoenix of Ice, Squishy, RGC, Brett, Ignis, Roxy, Brian, Josh, and Sean. You guys are awesome. I post new Commander deck videos often, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of new videos. Also, if you're a fan of anime and manga like I am, feel free to check out my other channel, Musings by Danon. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time on Commander by Danon.